You've probably heard this one your whole life. If you just save more, you'll be okay. Sounds responsible, right? Feels like the grown-up thing to do. Stack up those dollars in a savings account and play it safe. But here's the thing. That mindset is exactly what's keeping millions of Americans broke. Let's be real. Saving used to work. Back in the 80s and 90s, your savings account might have given you 5, 6, sometimes even 10% interest. That meant your money grew just by sitting there. That made sense. But today, you're lucky if your bank gives you 0.01%. That's 1 penny on every $100 per year. Meanwhile, inflation is running at 5, 6, sometimes 8% depending on who you ask and what you're buying. Do the math. Let's say you've got $10,000 in your savings account. After a year at 0.01%, you've earned $1. Meanwhile, prices around, you have risen by 6%, meaning you lost $600 in buying power. You're not saving. You're shrinking. Now here's what the banks don't want you to know. They love it when you believe saving is the goal. Because while your money is sitting there doing nothing, they're lending it out at 6 to 9% and making serious money off of you. Think about it. The same bank giving you 0.01% APY on your high-yield savings account is turning around and giving someone else a credit card at 22.99% APR. You're not the customer. You're the product. And yet this belief persists. We cling to it because it feels safe, because that's what we were taught. Because our parents and grandparents came from a time when saving for a rainy day actually worked. But that world doesn't exist anymore. Inflation is higher, wages haven't kept up, and the rules of the game have changed. So let me ask you something. Are you still trying to play a 2025 money game with a 1990s playbook? Because if you are, you already know how that ends. Listen, saving money isn't bad. You need an emergency fund. You need short-term cash. But if your entire wealth plan is just to save more and more, you're fighting inflation with a plastic spoon. Here's the wake-up call. Saving isn't the opposite of spending. The opposite of spending is investing. Because investing builds wealth, while saving just preserves it, barely. And in an environment where inflation is aggressively eroding the value of your dollar, just preserving isn't enough. You need your money to grow, or it's dying a slow, quiet death. Look, if you grew up in America, especially in a working or middle-class household, there's a good chance you heard something like this. Don't talk about money at the dinner table, or money doesn't grow on trees, or the all-time classic, money is the root of all evil. Now imagine hearing that over and over again as a kid. What kind of belief system do you think that builds? One where money is something to avoid, where wanting more feels greedy, where investing sounds risky, and saving feels like the only moral option. That stuff doesn't just disappear when you become an adult. It lives in your decisions, even when you don't realize it. So yeah, it's no surprise that so many Americans are afraid of investing. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're dumb. It's because they've been programmed for decades to believe that money is dangerous and the only way to stay safe is to cling to what little you've got. But here's the catch. The world changed. And fast. And that old programming? It's leaving people broke, stressed, and stuck. The media didn't help either. You ever notice how anytime there's a stock market dip, it's panic on every news channel? They never show the stories of the people who held on and came out wealthier. They show the guy who lost his savings in a crash, not the couple who dollar-cost averaged into index funds and retired early. Because fear sells, drama grabs attention, and if you're scared, you're easier to control. And then there's 2008, that one hit deep. Millions of families saw their retirement accounts shrink overnight. Homes lost, jobs gone. It was traumatic. So what happened? A whole generation swore off the stock market. They said never again. They went back to saving, to being safe. But in doing that, they walked right into inflation's trap. Here's the part no one talks about. Inflation is invisible. It doesn't make a sound. It doesn't break news headlines. It just slowly, silently steals your purchasing power. And while most people are terrified of investing because it feels volatile, what they should really fear is the slow erosion of their future. Because that's what's really happening. It's not some overnight disaster. It's death by 1,000 price increases, milk, gas, rent, insurance. Little by little, your dollar does less. And the kicker? You don't even notice it until it's too late. That's why so many people feel like they're working harder than ever and getting nowhere. Because they are. Their paycheck hasn't changed, but the value of what it buys, that's been shrinking for years. And if they're just saving, they're losing twice. Once to inflation and again to missed opportunity. So if you've ever felt nervous about investing, if you've held on to this fear like it's protecting you, I get it. That fear came from somewhere real, from your upbringing, from real economic pain, from watching loved ones struggle. But here's the truth. That fear is valid, but it's not helpful anymore. You don't need to shame yourself for believing it. But you do need to question it, because the money game has changed, and staying stuck in old beliefs, that's the real risk now. Here's the mindset shift. Money isn't evil, it's a tool, and you deserve to use it well. You weren't put on this planet to just pay bills and die. You weren't meant to work 40 hours a week for 40 years, just to retire on 40% of what never felt like enough in the first place. That's not a life. That's a slow, silent trap. And here's the wild part. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility now. If you're still believing that saving money is enough, that being good with money means hoarding, it like it's going to protect you, I've got some hard truth for you. That's not financial security. That's financial fear dressed up as wisdom, real security. That comes when your money doesn't just sit there. It works for you. And this is where most people get stuck. They say, I don't know where to start, or investing feels complicated. But listen, if you can learn how to work an iPhone, order DoorDash, or binge watch a Netflix series, you can absolutely learn to make your money grow. Let's make this real simple. There are tools, accessible, beginner-friendly tools, that let you protect your money from inflation and grow it. You ever heard of I-bonds? They're issued by the U.S. Treasury, backed by the government. And here's the best part. They're designed to move with inflation. So when inflation goes up, so does your return. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, but it's safe, smart, and way better than your savings account. Then you've got TIPS, Treasury Inflation-Protected Securities, another option where the value adjusts with inflation. These aren't get-rich-quick investments. They're don't-get-robbed-slowly moves. And for those ready to level up, you've got index funds, real estate investment trusts, REITs, even commodity ETFs. Think gold, silver, energy. These are all assets that tend to hold or even gain value when inflation kicks up. And no, you don't need to be a Wall Street genius. You don't need thousands to start. Most platforms let you begin with 10, 20, maybe $50. You just need the mindset to shift from I'm scared to lose money to I can't afford to lose value by doing nothing. Here's what they don't teach in school, and definitely not in most homes. Money that sits shrinks, but money that's active, money that's invested, has a chance to multiply. The key? Start small. Start messy if you have to, but start. Because no one's coming to rescue your retirement. The banks won't. The government sure won't. And inflation, it doesn't care about your intentions. You gotta choose. Do you want comfort or freedom? Comfort keeps your money in a checking account, just playing it safe. Freedom means putting it to work, even if that first step feels scary. So take the emotion out for a second. Look at the numbers. $1 in the bank loses value every day. $1 in the right asset. It fights back, it grows, it compounds. That's the turning point. When you stop seeing money as something you protect and start seeing it as something you use, like a tool, like a weapon, like leverage. The truth is, no one teaches you this on purpose, because the less you know, the more the system wins. But now you know. And now you decide. Let's pull back the curtain a little. Ever wonder why banks are so eager to get you to open a savings account, but never take the time to teach you how to actually grow your money? Why they spend millions on commercials showing happy families, depositing checks, smiling at ATMs, but never mention inflation, asset classes, or compound interest? Here's the truth they hope you never fully grasp. Banks profit off your ignorance. Every time you deposit money into a bank account, they don't just keep it locked away in some vault with your name on it. No. They take that money, lend it out at much higher interest rates, and pocket the difference. It's called fractional reserve banking, and it's completely legal. Let's say you put $5,000 into your savings account. The bank might only keep a tiny fraction of that on hand, maybe 10%, and loan the rest out. They'll give someone else a car loan at 7%, a credit card at 23%, a mortgage at 6.5%. Meanwhile, you're sitting there earning 1% on your money, feeling like you're doing something smart, but you're not earning, you're enabling. You're giving them the resources to profit while you settle for crumbs. And they know that as long as you believe that saving is safe, you'll never question it. You'll never ask where your money really goes. You'll never wonder, wait, why am I not seeing any real growth? Because you've been sold a story, one designed to keep you compliant. And here's what makes it worse. Every time inflation rises, which it has dramatically year over year, your money loses value and the bank's loans get easier to pay back. They win coming and going. Their assets grow, your savings shrink. Their portfolios expand, your purchasing power evaporates. But they'll never tell you that. They'll just keep you focused on rewards points, overdraft protection, and exclusive account features that do nothing to fight the real enemy, loss of value. Think about this. If you went to a financial advisor and they said, hey, I've got an idea, let's put your money somewhere where it loses 6 to 7% per year, you'd laugh and walk out the door. But that's exactly what most Americans do. Every single day. Because the bank made it sound normal. It's not normal. It's not safe. It's not smart. So here's the wake-up call. You're not broke because you're bad with money. You're broke because the system is built that way. It's built to reward activity on their side, not yours. To reward you being quiet, passive, and uninformed. And when you finally start to wake up, when you start asking questions, learning how inflation works, how to invest, how to move with intention, you become dangerous. Dangerous to a system that thrives on the silence of its participants. But here's the good news. Once you see the game, you can stop playing by their rules. You can build your own strategy. One where your money is invested with purpose. One where your returns fight inflation. One where you understand leverage, the same way banks do. And you start to play offense, not just defense. This isn't about conspiracy. It's about clarity. They've known the truth all along. Now it's your turn. Meet Jason. He's 35, works full-time as a logistics coordinator in Ohio. He's not flashy, doesn't drive a luxury car, no crypto tattoos, no finance degree. Just a regular guy doing what most people do, clocking in, paying bills, and trying to keep up. For years, Jason did what he thought was right. He saved. Religiously. Every paycheck he'd move 10% into a high-yield savings account, which, let's be honest, was yielding less than the steam from his morning coffee. But it felt safe. It felt responsible. It felt like he was building something. Until one day he noticed something. His rent had gone up again. Gas was higher. His grocery bill, which used to be manageable, now looked like a car payment. But his bank account? Barely moved. His money wasn't growing. It was just sitting there. Quiet. Lifeless. Jason started asking questions. Not the dramatic midlife crisis kind. Just simple, honest ones. If I keep doing this, where will I be in 10 years? Why does it feel like I'm running harder but going nowhere? Why? Am I scared to invest when I know staying still is costing me? So he did what most people don't. He looked under the hood. He started reading, watching videos, listening to people who weren't selling him a dream but breaking down the system in a way that finally made sense. He learned about I-bonds, Not sexy, but solid, and he liked that. He took $500 from his emergency fund and moved it into one. A few weeks later, he opened a Roth IRA, started small, $50 a month into a low-cost index fund. The next month, he upped it to $100. Eventually, he started looking into REITs because real estate always intrigued him. But buying property wasn't realistic. No overnight riches, no trading at midnight, no YOLO bets on meme stocks, just consistent, intentional, boring growth. 12 months in, Jason wasn't rich, but something shifted. And it wasn't just his bank balance. It was his mindset. He felt in control. He stopped checking his account every day, panicking when it didn't move. He understood volatility, and that gave him peace. He started thinking long-term, started talking about money with his wife, without tension. Started dreaming again. He wasn't chasing freedom anymore. He was building it. What changed? Not his job, not his income, not the economy. What changed was Jason. Because once you understand the rules of the game, you stop playing like a pawn. You stop waiting for raises to save you, or for politicians to fix the system. You realize you don't need a windfall. You need a plan. You don't need more money. You need better strategy. And most importantly, you stop being afraid of money. You start using it. That's what happens when you flip the script. That's what happens when you stop trying to outsave inflation and start outsmarting it. Jason's story isn't extraordinary. It's not even rare. It's what happens when ordinary people get honest, get curious, and get to work. And if he can do it, with no financial background, no rich uncle, and no shortcut, why not you? So, let's take a breath. After all this, the inflation talk, the banking games, the mental programming, the system rigging, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, maybe even angry. But I'm not here to stir up fear. I'm here to hand you the flashlight, because once you see what's really happening, you can't unsee it. You realize you've been working hard your whole life, but not always in the right direction. You realize working more hours doesn't beat a system designed to drain value from your money while you sleep. And worst of all, you realize you were never supposed to figure this out. Not on your own. Not like this. That's the part that stings. The American dream. It wasn't meant to be a 40-year debt trap or a game of survival where only the lucky or the already wealthy win. It was meant to be a blueprint for freedom, for building, for legacy. But somewhere along the line it got hijacked, monetized, commercialized, turned into a marketing campaign for credit cards and bank fees. And here's what's wild. Most people will go their entire lives without ever questioning it. They'll follow the same routines. Save a little, spend a little, hope Social Security doesn't disappear, panic during downturns, sit out the upswings and wonder, year after year, why does it always feel like I'm behind? But not you, not anymore. If this video hit something deep in you, if something clicked, then maybe it's time to stop waiting for things to change and start changing how you move, because nothing shifts until you shift. Look, I'm not promising you overnight wealth. I'm not going to tell you some shiny app will fix everything. That's the kind of empty promise that got us here in the first place. What I am saying is this: your mindset is the gatekeeper, and the moment you reprogram how you think about money, everything else follows. Money isn't just numbers. It's energy, it's belief, it's leverage. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you deserve. So ask yourself, do you believe you deserve to be financially free? Do you believe you can learn new tools, build new habits, and move different, even if nobody showed you how? Because I believe you can. And the truth is, your money problems probably didn't start in your wallet. They started in your head, in old scripts, in inherited fears, in silence. But that ends now, if you want it to. So here's what I want you to do. Sit with what you heard today. Don't rush to react. Reflect. Ask, what belief do I need to let go of? What strategy do I need to start? What story have I been telling myself? And is it helping me or holding me back? Then when you're ready, hit subscribe. because we're going to keep doing this. One mindset shift at a time, one layer at a time, one breakthrough at a time. And I'll be right here at not selling you hype, but helping you build real, lasting freedom. You're not broken. You've just been misinformed. But now,